All right, how many people know what spoken word poetry is? Whoa, you're informed up here. All right, awesome. So quick, before I start, I'm going to let you know that one thing I like to do with my students when I'm teaching spoken word is we like to invoke the audience energy into the artist, and then the artist gives you back the energy you give. So I'm going to count down from 3, and when I say 3, 2, 1, you're going to say, speak poet, as loud as you can, or with as much energy you want me to talk back to you. Okay? So let's try a practice run. 3, 2, 1. Woo! Okay, very nice. I like that. All right, so I'm going to begin my talk with a little bit of a spoken word piece. For those of you who don't know what spoken word is, now you can say you do after today. All right, so I need the energy, everybody. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. I remember the first time I stepped to the mic to do poetry. Step 1. To do the thing that they told me would never be my main money maker. My bread and butter would always just be my side hustle, would always be on my back burner. I remember the shaking of the paper being louder than my voice on the mic. I remember the thrill of hearing me speak my insides, outside, every piece of this moment outside of my comfort zone. But growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. And even though I became more grounded in my performance, I remember the feeling of rising, higher, high as a kite. This was my new high, and I knew I would never be coming down again. I remember the first time I stepped to the mic in slam competition. Up against champions from the South, up against champions from the North, up against champions from my own city. Never made it past round 1, but that night I made it to step 2. I remember the first time I entered a classroom just barely older than the kids I was teaching, just barely past the stuff that they were getting through in life, still not past the stuff that I was getting through in life, but I am teaching them how to teach me. They are teaching me how to teach myself. They are teaching me how to get to step 3, and step 4, and step 5, and step 6. Froze time when for a split second I let the fear settle in my soul for too long, decided that somehow I wasn't good enough, that I didn't make the cut. So I stepped back. Lost 7 years in the mix, lost 7 steps I could have taken to be even farther, but I listened to the fear of other people. Let it consume me. Let it drown me in thoughts that were irrelevant when my dreams were incandescent. They wanted to put out my light, and I was blinded by why they could not see for my future. I was blinded by the visions of the version of me that overshadowed my own. I was blinded until I took step 8. Return to the stage, back to the microphone, back to where it all began, back to where my fear held me back to where my ambitions pushed me forward, back to the very place I needed to be. Speaking my piece. The thrill of once again hearing myself speak my insides, outside, every piece of these moments outside of my comfort zone, but growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. So now in year 15 of this journey, on step 1175, I push forward. I am an artist, and I am doing this for a living. Still part-time, so most of the time they still see it as side hustle. They still see it as on the back burner. Even though most of the time, I bring in more through this art than I do through my actual job. You know, that thing that was supposed to be my main moneymaker, that thing that was supposed to be my bread and butter, that they told me would be the only thing that supplements my living. But this art is what supplements my living. While it supplements my soul, while it complements everything I ever dreamed about being. And it all starts with one step, and then another, and then another. And it all starts with believing that when you step off that ledge, instead of falling, you will fly. Thank you. Cool. All right, in spoken word, sometimes we do a little snap thing. Can I get a little snap? Oh, okay. Very nice, very nice. Excellent. I like this crowd. All right, so most of you are in high school now? Yeah? Grade school? Almost? Getting there? Well, you're at a time in your life that it can be still really fun, a really fun time, where your memories are being made, where you start to prepare and thinking about your future. But it can also be a very scary time. You're dealing with changes in yourself, changing friends, changes in your body, changing what used to be your dreams, maybe? Remember when you guys were kids and your parents and your teachers told you that you could be whatever you wanted if you just put your mind to it? I feel that sometimes when we get a little older, they just flip the script on you a little bit, and you don't even see it coming. They may tell you to stop dreaming and start getting real about your life. You know, get serious. But what's serious? What's real? Who's to say that those dreams you had as a kid weren't serious? Who's to say that what you said you wanted to be when you were a kid is not still your current ambition? What is stopping you? Fear? Who's a little bit scared of their dreams? Okay, honesty in the front row, I see. And if it is fear, is it your fear, or is it the fear of someone else? Do others impart their own fear, their own deeper connections to that fear, their own limitations, their self-limitations, the things that they were limited in doing onto you? And you? How do you react to that fear? Do you then limit yourself? Do you then hold back on your own dreams? Do you then stop supporting the things that you knew you were always going to do until somebody came around and said, maybe that's not so realistic? Or, you're not that great in math, so I don't think business is the right path, but maybe here, try this thing instead. Has someone else's fear ever streamlined you into something that makes them more comfortable with how you want to live? And where does that leave you? Is that how you really want to live your life? Well, that's how I lived for a long time. In fact, sometimes even now, to today, I find that feeling tries to creep back in once in a while, and it has me thinking like crazy thoughts. Maybe I do need to focus on getting a real job. Or yeah, maybe my art and my poetry isn't going to cut it and not going to pay my bills, let alone be my career. It had me thinking that my poetry wasn't good enough to make it on my own. Because if I wasn't successful on that like uber celebrity level, if I wasn't making tons of money so I could live and save and buy a house and get married and do all the things that society had nicely laid out for me to do by the time I was 30, that I wasn't successful at all. It was all or nothing. But that was a lie. But I realized that this was a legitimate fear for my parents. Not to say that they wanted me to be stuck in some day job I wasn't happy with. I know that they wanted really good things for me. Honestly, almost my whole life, my mom used to be like, Paulina, you're going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Thanks, Mom. No pressure there. But I realized that when you come from parents who worked really hard to immigrate here and make a better life for themselves and their children, and when they come from a time where certain types of career paths were not supported, or where the arts was not pushed as a thing you could do to actually make a living, because it's seen as that 1 in a million chance to make it kind of thing, it was natural for my parents to resort back to practicality, the day job, because that was what was necessary for my survival. But that doesn't mean that I had to resort back to practicality, even though I did, for just a little while. Because I let their fears add to my own, and then I started to worry. So I worked hard, I got great jobs, I built my career, I made some money, I was able to survive, and I should be happy, right? Yeah? Except I wasn't. I was indeed surviving, but not thriving, and that's a different thing, okay? I was not really living, and even though this time I tried to focus on my so-called professional career, which is actually in arts administration. My arts practice never really went away. The poetry was going nowhere, no matter how much times I tried to forget it, okay? It continued to creep up. It continued to try and fit in performances or teaching gigs, wherever I could in my schedule. But I wouldn't give up my day job. True story, because I actually drove here from my day job office. Even when this one time I was on maternity leave after giving birth to my first daughter, and I was thinking, what do I do next? I have this free time, I'm getting some money, I can think about it. I met with a mentor who told me, you know, you're really super talented, right? With this art thing, and you could really make it. And you know what I thought? Nah, I'm not that good. I really better get a real job, okay? But in reality, my fear, mixed with other people's fear, mixed with my growing awareness of this pressure to achieve what society deemed a success or making it, is what was holding me back. I was too scared to jump off the ledge and see where it takes me. So I played it safe. And because I did that, I struggled. I still do at times. Even today as an artist, I still haven't jumped off the ledge completely. I would say I'm more like creeped out. I take little steps at a time, step by step, because you know, I have a kid. I have 2 kids actually, and a husband, and a family, and now it's a lot harder for me to just make the big leap. Because it's not just me my decision might impact. It's not just me who has to deal with the consequences if I fail. But I realized that when you are pursuing your dream fearlessly, like really fearlessly, although you do need to jump out of your comfort zone to grow, you don't need to always jump all the way off the ledge, especially if you haven't created that safety net for yourself underneath. Sometimes taking smaller jumps off smaller ledges can lead you to the same place as taking the giant leap off the top of the building. It just might take a little bit longer, and that's what happened to me. But regardless, you have to have the mindset to want to jump, period. So if I could go back again, you know what I would have done? I would have jumped. Because I realized that in my teens and in my 20s, this was the time for experimentation. This was the time for me to make my mistakes and try and fail and try and fail and fail and try and succeed at doing that. Because when you're so young, the impact on your potential career is really minimal. You're less likely to have a family to take care of or worry about, and even if you do, you're a young parent, you may have more support systems to help you. You can always go back to school. You can always get a real job. You can always get serious about building that career. But the older you get and the longer you wait, it can get harder to take the jump. Although I do know many people who are my age and older who have taken that leap, it came with a lot more thoughtful decision making. They have to go back and forth with their fears. Do I leave my job now? Do I not? Where am I in my career? But you are in the prime time to reclaim all your childhood dreams and just go for it. Take the jump. We live in an amazing time right now, okay? So dive in. See what amazing things can happen when you take a little risk and have some faith in yourself. 3, 2, 1. This side got it. Can we do it one more time? 3, 2, 1. And make sure that you also are not afraid to speak. Thank you guys so much. You were awesome.